Hello again, and welcome. Michael Pizzolla here. I'd like to welcome you to this edition of the ValueCapping Rant. In this rant, we're going to talk about the 2018 Bluegrass Stakes at Keeneland, the 2018 Wood Memorial at Aqueduct, and the 2018 Santa Anita Derby at, well, you guessed it, Santa Anita. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Michael Pizzolla. I've been teaching, coaching, and playing this great game for over 3 decades. I am the author of the best-selling book, Handicapping Magic, co-author of the classic Pace Makes the Race. I'm the creator of the original online racing forum, which is called Post Time Daily 2.0 now. You can find it at posttimedaily.com. That's what it looks like. I am the creator of the Black Magic Handicapper software. This is what 1.0 looks like, and the recently released ValueCapper Black Magic 2.0, which is what I'm going to be using to analyze these races. But look, the software is based on the principles of value capping. The game has really changed, and I've done a course for you for those of you who haven't seen it. It's called the ValueCapping Revolution Basic Training Course. Just go over to valuecapper.com, click on the big yellow button, put in your first name and email, and you'll get a video right away, an hour-long video on the principles of value capping. Then every couple of days, you'll get another video. It is chock full of great information, no matter what kind of handicapper you are. Whether you're a speed handicapper, a pace handicapper, class handicapper, a trip handicapper, if you use the sheets, if you use the buyer numbers, I don't care. The principles of value capping will stand you in good stead. Let me tell you, in that course, you'll learn not only the value capping framework and how value capping is so different from handicapping. I'll reveal for the first time in public the 5x5 formula, and I'll talk to you about the software and training. If you come away with nothing else from this video, I want you to understand something about the changing nature of this great game that we play. You know, in the old days, it used to be you could find a good horse with good numbers and he'd pay $17.80. Those days are gone. There is so much out there, so many good, solid numbers that people can have at the click of their mouse or on their computer like that. So the value capping framework to play the modern game is to find and bet horses you like that the public shouldn't. Okay, we want to find where the public is maybe making an error in their betting. Now, preferably, I'd like those horses to be running against vulnerable favorites. Very important to wait for your price and to get a felt sense of the process so that the bet makes you. Now, again, you can use this no matter what kind of handicapper you are. And with that in mind, I want to point out 3 things before we get into the races. Number 1, this is not meant to be a touting video. Otherwise, it would be 30 seconds. Hey, in the Wood Memorial, I like this horse. And then, you don't learn anything. Either that, oh, good, he won. Let's see what he does next time. Or, oh, good, the horse ran up the track. He's an idiot. It doesn't advance your understanding of the game. Rather, the purpose of these videos and the value capping rants is to demonstrate the principles of value capping, which is bet horses you like that the public shouldn't, preferably running against vulnerable favorites. Wait for your price and let the bet make you. I can't repeat that enough. Number 2, I'm making this days before the races. As a matter of fact, it's so early, but I have to do it in order to shoot the video, edit it, and get it up to YouTube and so forth. I don't even have the saddlecloth numbers incorporated into the file yet. Our data provider, Equibase, hasn't gotten those files together, or we haven't processed them or something, but that's okay. I'm going to make this anyway. But aside from that, I don't have the scratches. I don't know what the weather is that changes in the race. There's 14 horses or colts rather, in the bluegrass and so forth. So I'm kind of flying a little bit blind, and those things can affect things. And finally, value investment at the racetrack and value investment potential horses are price dependent. And that means if there's no adequate price, there's no bet. Now listen, on so-called big days, good value opportunities often appear in the undercards. Don't get so hung up on the quote-unquote big races. As a matter of fact, a lot of horse players force bets. Okay? An old-timer once told me, it's not the bad beats that hurt you, it's the bad bets. Now, sure, we've all had things like this happen to us. 9 horses home and dry, and maybe not. But that is not as harmful to your bankroll as is making poor bets. Now, I don't mean a poor bet is any bet that you lose. No. Sometimes you can make a very intelligent bet and the horse doesn't run or it stumbles or like that horse, the jockey falls off. But I know that from doing this for a long time on big days with big races, some horse players tend to force bets because we want to have a bet on the big race. Okay? My advice to you, don't do that. Wait for your price. Wait for a solid opportunity. With that in mind, I'd like to take you over to the ValueCapper software, Blackmagic 2.0. Look over my shoulder, and more than picking horses, what I'm going to do is to demonstrate to you how I use the principles of value capping to find some potential value investments. Okay, so here we are on the main screen of the ValueCapper software. This is the Bluegrass Stakes 2018. It's Keeneland Race 10 on April 7th, 2018. Let's see what we have got. Here's a shock. Not. Good Magic, the 11 horse, the winner of the 2017 Breeders' Cup Juvenile, is way on top of the rest of the colts in this race. Now, is that surprising? No. This colt just missed breaking its maiden at Saratoga in August, came back as a maiden in the Champagne, missed by half a length, blew out the field in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, won it. This was its maiden win, and came back as a heavy favorite in this year's Fountain of Youth and finished third. Maybe it wasn't ready. Maybe because it was 3 wide. I don't know. But here's the thing. If you look behind this colt on the line, you see Good Magic's up there at 6-1. There's a big gap down to the 4, Kanthaka. And that's a 10-1 on my line. That's what I'm saying, that if the colt runs, if they ran the race 11 times, this colt would win once. Okay? The rest of the line is extremely weak. 10-1, 11-1, 11-1, 11-1, 12-1, 13-1, 13-1, 14-1. Then the gap at random is only to 15-1. Any of those colts could conceivably take this race if Good Magic doesn't run. This is an issue with handicapping and value capping 3-year-old colts. They can move up and down in their performances with so much volatility. In my mind, when I look at a race like this, I think that this is not a great colt to bet. Good Magic is going to be the favorite in the race. While it's not a good one to bet because it's going to be too short a price, I'm not sure that I have a clear play, a clear horse, a clear colt to bet against it with. So I don't want to bet it, and I don't really want to bet against it because I don't have a clear choice. Someone puts a gun to my head and says, you gotta choose one. Okay, the second on the line, the 4, Kanthaka. Okay, fine, I'll take it. But you know what? This, to me, is a pass race. I cannot really distinguish between that gaggle of horses below Good Magic in case Good Magic isn't ready. Kantaka can win at a big price. The 14, if it's in, the Arawak can win at a big price. The Tis Mischief even at a huge price, even though it's been running poorly lately. So that's what I'm saying. I will not force a bet on this race. Now, if you have different insights, that's fantastic. But for me, betting this race would be truly forcing a bet. So it's a pass for me. Similarly, in the Santa Anita Derby, which is the 9th race at Santa Anita on April 7th, 2018. Now, I do not have the morning line. I do not have the saddlecloth numbers. But here's more breaking news. The horse that I've got way on top, 3-2 going down to 9-2, which is huge, is Justify. I read that Justify is the 4-5 morning line favorite. And why not? It blew out its maiden field at Santa Anita at 7 furlongs in February. It once again blew out an allowance field on the 11th of March. It's done absolutely nothing wrong. It's got numbers that dwarf this field. And here's, for if you really want to get a bet in this race, here's even the worst news is that Bolt de Oro, the fulcrum in the race, is the second morning line favorite at 6-5. Those two tower over this field. If there's another colt that wins this race, I don't know who it's going to be. I can't bet them. They're going to be way too short, but I'm not going to bet against them. I don't see a good opportunity. So I'm sorry to tell you, but I think these passes are as valuable as hitting a nice horse, because in the long run, avoiding bad bets will really preserve your bankroll. Now, the Wood Memorial, which is the 10th race at Aqueduct on April 7th, 2018, has got a little more texture. It's a little more interesting. Okay, so first thing to notice is that I only have 5 horses above random. The 1, Heartful of Stars, the 8, Restoring Hope, the 5, Entice, the 7, King Zachary, and the 9, Vino Rosso. Now, look, this is not some kind of automatic picker, because otherwise we'd just say, oh, the top horse. Well, the top horse is a long shot. It's Heartful of Stars. It kind of meets the criteria of a horse that I like, 7-2 on my line, that the public shouldn't, 15-1 on the contention line, 20-1 on the morning line. Now, it's got some issues. Namely, well, I don't know issues. It had an extremely hard race last out at Santa Anita. I mean, it gutted it out to win, to break its maiden, actually, in a restricted race. So, is this the kind of profile that I would look for in a champion colt? No, not really. Second on my line is Restoring Hope. Now, Restoring Hope also just broke its maiden back in February. It's on a bit of a layoff. And again, this isn't, it showed great improvement over its last 2 races. But I don't see a real, and it's the second morning line favorite. I don't think I see a real reason to bet this one. The morning line favorite, heavy morning line favorite, 6-5, and no wonder, is Enticed. Wins its maiden at first asking, third in the Champagne, wins wins at Churchill, the Grade 2 Kentucky Jockey Club, hard-fought battle, comes back, and I don't know what happened in the Holy Bull. This is what I'm telling you. After a layoff, no one really knows what's going to happen. I don't care who you are. If you're the owner of the groomer, you can say the trainer can say he's on his toes and he's on his oats or whatever horses else do, and you don't know. So it didn't run. It threw in a real clunker and then comes back and wins the Gotham just last month on March 10th. This is a legitimate favorite. I don't see anything wrong with this colt. Bringing us to King Zachary, an interesting colt. It took 3 times to break its maiden. On the 3rd time, it blew out the maiden field against which it ran on March 18th. Now, here's the question that often comes up with these improving colts. If you look at its master pace numbers, we see on the bottom 151.3 as a 2-year-old, comes back as a 3-year-old, puts in a 156.2, then comes back, runs a 158.1. That's a very good number in this field. Question, is that improvement because it is, it's improving that much? Or is it because it just blew out the field and was running nice and easy, which sometimes happens in easy maiden wins? The answer is, I don't know, and I will let price guide me on this. You'll notice it's got a gaudy late fraction, that 90. That's big in this field. But again, is it because it just was running, had its head, if you will, as the old timers used to say, and just ran away with its maiden win? So there's one kind of question about it, and I'll come back to track profiles and all of that. And the last one is in the arc above random is Vino Rosso, which, I don't know, won its maiden at first asking, won it at Aqueduct, won an allowance at Tampa, and then ran a couple of okay races, 3rd in a grade 3, and was 4th in the Tampa Bay Derby back in March. Okay. So what's interesting is that ValueCapper thinks this race from a combination of velocity and position will go unpressured. If you look down here at the acupressure, it actually has that one horse as being on the lead in both calls. Little lead in the first call and then maybe extending its lead. Now, that's okay, but how does the 1 1/8 usually run at Aqueduct? There's a tool called Track Profiles. These are made from the results charts. And let me go back a little bit. They don't run this very often at Aqueduct. And here's one thing to notice. At the second call, you see BL2 is beaten length's second call. The horses tend to be close or on the lead, close to or on the lead. But what's interesting is the percentage of energy is late. I don't want to get into a long explanation, but these are races where the winning profile is close to the lead with a late expenditure of energy. So in last year's Wood Memorial, I believe it was Irish Warcry who beat Battalion Runner. And they basically went 1-2 around the track, but their expenditure late was not as early as the race looked. And I think it was the 6, I think it was Stretch's Stone, and it was around 15-1 or something. I thought it might have a shot in the race. Finished dead last. Another one of these, it was a state bred, I believe a New York state bred that had a hard race last out, showed good numbers, and then just couldn't compete with this. So I think a little bit that this one horse one colt in the Wood here might be that same kind of situation. So what does all that track profile mean? Well, if we move off the early bias to neutral, now Vino Rosso improves. Interestingly, King Zachary still comes up. And I've still got a heart full of stars. And then there's the 3 morning line favorites still in the arc. In other words, restoring hope in Vino Rosso. If I go late, if this race goes late, I still can't get rid of King Zachary. Vino Rosso is still there. It's the same group of colts. I guess Evaluators sneaks in, but way down. So basically, I can't get rid of King Zachary. If it goes late, the two good late fractions are Vino Rosso and King Zachary. On the neutral side, those same two colts are on top. On the early side, this one has to be dealt with. If I were to bet this race, I'd have to see the board, of course. I would take King Zachary. I would need somewhere in the range of 12, 15 to 1, in that range. Heart Full of Stars, if I don't get something in the vicinity of 20 to 1, which I think it will, because it doesn't seem like it would be a champion, I'll just take the bet on King Zachary. If I get a decent price in Heart Full of Stars, I would take that one. Entice might be hard to beat in this race. This is a race I go into without a lot of great confidence. I do, because I can't get rid of King Zachary on any scenario, I favor that one. Don't know if the numbers and fractions are because of that easy maiden win it had last time. But again, remember, Good Magic in the Bluegrass was the Breeders' Cup Juvenile winner, and that was its maiden win. Okay, so the fact that it's a maiden will only inflate its price. I'm talking on King Zachary. I would feel comfortable with a bet on this one at 12 to 15 to 1, somewhere in that range. A secondary bet on Heart Full of Stars, but only at a very big price. But this at least has some texture to it, unlike the Bluegrass and the Santa Anita Derby, where it's what are you going to do? Santa Anita Derby, it's Justify and Bolt Oro. I'm not going to bet them. I'm not going to bet against them. Same thing with Good Magic and the Bluegrass. Maybe the 4-horse on a secondary recreational kind of bet. Now, there are two interesting races in the undercard. One in the undercard at Aqueduct, which is the Carter Handicap. This is the 8th race at Aqueduct on April 7th, 2018. And this is a bit of a flyer, I will admit. There is a colt who is got a very strong number in this race. It's Army Mule. Won its maiden at first asking, won its allowance in its second. It's on a layoff, but hey, it won at first asking, went on a layoff, won that race. This is a legitimate favorite. But remember that, horses, we don't know what they're going to do on layoffs if for any reason this one isn't ready. Notice that the race comes up as highly pressured. And that fits in with the profile at Aqueduct 7 furlongs. There is a long price in the ARC. It's called Fellowship. This horse is not a champion by any stretch of the imagination. However, it's earned $700,000 in its career, so it's it's a good little earner. But notice how the horse closes in its race. That's great for a highly pressured race. It's got a win and a second in its 4 tries at 7 furlongs. Look, I've got it at 8 to 1 on my line. So I would need something around 20 to 1 to bet this, and I definitely hook it up with Army Mule. But this is a legitimate long shot. Okay? If you notice at the top of the screen, it's the VIP Plus because it's value investment potential. 8 to 1 on my line, which is not great, by the way. I like them higher than that. 14 to 1 on contention, which means it should be a price. The morning line maker agrees, puts it at 20 to 1, 13 to 1 on the ValueCapper price. I look for this horse to make a big close. Would have to, if I bet it again at 20 to 1 or so, I would, be betting on, maybe Army Mule isn't ready. Because if it is, I think it wins the race. If you look at Army Mule very quickly, it made short closes. I don't think 7 furlongs is going to be much of an issue. for this colt. But if it's not ready, I'm going to bet Fellowship comes steaming down. I probably use the 3-horse in their favorable outcome. Another horse has shown a few little closes, and use that in exotics. So Fellowship at 20-1, sure, why not? Another undercard. Look, the undercards, there are a lot of races running on Saturday. I don't have all of the cards yet, but here's one that just popped out at me. This is the 9th race at Oaklawn. This is before the big races run, okay? And everyone's going to be looking to the big races. Well, maybe right after the Wood, but look at this. This is the kind of race, and this is an example of how I use the principles of value capping. Right on the top of the line is a mare called Thoughtless, the 2. 3-1 on my line. Value capper is a horse I like, right? Because it's the best in the race on my numbers. That the public shouldn't. The contention is 9-1. The morning line makes it 12-1. It's got all kinds of extras going for it. It's a reverser to the 5, Mythical Tale, who just beat it. It's got an advanced form pattern. It ran within 2.5 lengths the second back, and then it had a kind of a relaxing, short little close in its last race. This is its third start after a layoff. This is its third start, and it's coming into a highly pressured race, and it's got a very nice closing style. The last race number on my numbers is the best in the field. And the morning line favorite, Vertical Oak, let's take a quick look, is an early runner. So I'll take Thoughtless at, around 7-1, 6-7-1. I think this is a nice shot. As a horse I like, the public shouldn't. Does that mean it's going to win? No. Okay. I'll use it in an exacta box and straight with the 5. Why? Because reversal winners coming out of the same race often run against each other. Vertical Oak, it's an early horse. This is a favorite that I think is flawed. If the race does indeed go to one of the closers, this isn't it. I think this filly is a pretty early runner, and it's on a layoff. So I've got 2 things going for it. I'll use the fulcrum in the exotics as well if the price is there. It's coming out of that same allowance race that Thoughtless and Mythical Tale are. So a win bet on the 2 at 7-1. Mythical Tale in the exotics with Marquis Miss. And this is a nice, clear value potential bet for me. So the Bluegrass, I'm going to pass. I'm not going to bet Good Magic, and I'm not going to bet against him. The Santa Anita Derby, same thing. Justify and Bolt Oro, head and shoulders over this field. The Wood Memorial, I give a little shot to King Zachary that I can't get away from, whether this race goes neutral or late or even early. I would have to get 12-15-1. Heartful of Stars, I'm a bit sanguine about this colt's chances, but hey, at 20-25-1, I'll use him in a little saver and exotics. In the Carter handicap, Army Mule looks the best. If I get 20-1 or so on Fellowship, I'll bet that one will come closing, and I'll take the price. And in the Carousel Stakes, the 9th at Oaklawn, I'll take Thoughtless at 7-1, hook it up with the 5-1 in exotics. And that's it. That's the process of value capping for how I look at the races. That's how I incorporate the value capping framework into actual, real, live races. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. Sorry that the Bluegrass Stakes and the Santa Anita Derby didn't provide much in the way of good value bets, but hey, that's the way it is. Remember, it's not the bad beats that get you, it's the bad bets, okay? So I hope you enjoyed that, looking over my shoulder for how I incorporate the value capping framework into my work. I want to thank you so much for your support and your encouragement. Good luck at the races. Remember to wait for your prices and let the bet make you. I'll see you soon.